Yo guys, what's going on? Lucky Cheese 7 is back again to give you guys Boruto Naruto's Next Generations chapters 77 through 80. I cannot believe how long it's been since I've actually last talked about Boruto. I mean, okay, quite literally, if you look back at the date of the channel, last time I talked about Boruto was 76, and that was December. Yeah, like last time I talked about Boruto was in December, and since then we've been on. Well, okay, the manga's been on break for like what 5 months, I think, something like that, like since April. Um, and as far as me, like I haven't talked about Boruto since again December, so it's been like relatively 7 months. And going from end of December to July, I mean, a lot has happened. A lot has happened with the Boruto manga. I mean, like the anime's done too. Part 2 now has the official, promo piece with Sarda, which I'm not gonna dive too much into that. I'm not. I wanna save that for, like, towards the end of the stream, but this is more so just me wanting to talk about just, certain checkpoints that happened throughout, like, these last 4 chapters because it is not only the end of volume 20, but it's also, like, the ending of part 1. Like, with chapter 80, part 1 of Boruto is now officially done. Officially. And by extension, you could say Naruto, or not Naruto, Boruto Naruto's Next Generation as a whole is done because, given the confirmation of the chapter to, or the not chapter, but the manga title, Boruto's now going to be going under, the two vortex, right? Two blue vortexes, I think. But again, all that stuff, save them for the end. So let's go ahead and dive right into the first section with this finale stream, which is going to be specifically about Kawaki. Because, come from the end of chapter 76, you have Kawaki and he's like, yo, you talking to Momoshiki? And Boruto, of course, like just trying to say, like, no, 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 no. Boruto's not there, but he's not exactly having it, right? And he's thinking about it. Which, of course, you have Kawaki just thinking back too. A lot. Like the whole conversation that he had with Sumire about about condemning him for killing Boruto. And then of course, like you see like the frustration Kawaki has, and they're just like, yo, bro, like chill, like let it go. Let it go is it's not worth it. And again, Kawaki is not exactly having it because like he knows Momoshiki is like up to some shit, and that's the trigger for Kawaki and what sets him off for like the rest of the chapters as Momoshiki because he knows that Momoshiki's up to something, and he's talking to Boruto. It's like, bro, like what the hell just happened? And Shikamaru is the one that's like just saying like, hey, chill out. We'll figure it. We'll work on it. Like it's just take it one step at a time. Which and again, I'm like skimming through a lot because I just want to get to like the basic point. So Kawaki just throws Boruto to the side. He says he has to take care of some things, and Boruto reminds him like, "Hey, we're on a mission. Remember, like we can't like just goof around and everything." But Kawaki, he's not standing it. He's not. He's just like, "No, I got to do this." And big thing here is Kawaki, they can't cheat since it's chakra nature. Since it's chakra nature, since it's chakra or anything. But you see this, and then Boruto kind of gets an idea of okay, he used the Sukuna Hikona to shrink himself down. And okay, big thing here is that okay, and I think this is the one time we get code with the ten tail. I forget what they're called, the dinosaurs or whatever. The little Frieza knockoffs, if you will. They kind of look like that. So I think this is like the only time code actually shows up until what is it? The last chapter, like towards the very end. I think this is the very last time you actually have code show up until like the very end point of chapter 80. But you've got this going on. And again, just I'm cutting over to a few things. So Himawari's there, and then of course you got Ada's brother like looking over Damon. He's like, "Hey, who are you?" And this is actually kind of tragic that this is like the last time we actually get to see Boruto and Himawari like actually confront one another. Because if you really think about it, after this, there's no other scene you have between brother and sister. Like Boruto catches Damon, like, "Hey, what's going on? Let her go." And Damon senses something. It's like, wait a second, there's something about her. Like, I can't tell what it is, but like it's that intensity. There's something in her which, going off from the day Naruto became Hokage, we know Himawari kind of has that chakra sense, if you will. She kind of has like that. Well, you could call it Hyuga lineage. You could call it that too, but it is what it is. I mean, even Boruto doesn't remember. Like, yeah, despite how she looks, like she can get pretty scary when she snaps. Obviously, referring to again when Boruto accidentally like ripped off, you know, the teddy bear through of like a tug of war scenario, and that did set her off. But Himawari is kind of like, no, 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 no. We're not doing this. Big Brother's not going to approve of like Himawari like getting herself in danger. And in actuality, this is like the last time we actually do get to see Naruto and Hinata too, because they're there, they're setting up. I'm assuming this is dinner. They're setting up dinner for like everyone, and they're kind of like contemplating on like, all right, like how long is this gonna happen? Like how much time will we have to spend? And Naruto's like, I'm not sure. Probably for a little while, and then like right as this happens, like Kawaki steps in, and this is where Kawaki actually like super heavily dives into his ideology. And I will say this, which I don't think I've mentioned a lot, but Kawaki's character, in my opinion, like it's flawed. It's not horrible by any means. It's very flawed, but in a way, you kind of get where he's coming from. Again, the way he's going about it is kind of just like, whoa, bro, like, what you doing? But here's the thing he says: the lookouts are incompetent as usual because they rely solely on detecting chakra. And I'm assuming he's referring to the Ambu because let's be fair, the Ambu cannot do jack shit at all. And I mentioned this heavily in the Minato one shot stream, but like the Ambu Black Ops, I'm like legit. I'm being serious here. What is their payroll? Like what? Because again, these guys are supposed to be like the top of the top in Konoha, and you're telling me like this is all they can do? Like they're supposed to be high tier above Joni, and they get treated like fodder. The Hokage's elite guard. You know, but Kawaki says sorry to be a pain. Naruto's like, Kawaki, how did you? Yeah, take a seat. I want to talk to you. Yeah, so Naruto confirms we're here. Like it's gonna be dinner time soon, and he tells Naruto like straight up, like, "Hey, look, I'm very grateful for what you did. I truly am." And he talks about like how Naruto changed him. He went from being just being a person who was a vessel, and now because of Naruto, like he's able to like breathe life again. And Naruto kind of gets an idea like, okay, you're exaggerating. You were plenty fun from the start, if you ask me. A kind-hearted person who was willing to sacrifice oneself to protect others, just as he did with Himawari and me. But Kawaki like restates like, no, you enabled me to do so, and by awakening this version of me, that I didn't know existed. And again, this is where Kawaki's ideology kind of gets skewed because he says, I would do anything to protect you, even die without hesitation. My world, let's keep this in mind, everyone. He says, my world revolves around you to an extent that even surprises me. But this world we live in is full of crap, and generally, good people like you, are those who die first. So long as gigantic pieces of crap like the Otsutsuki are running amok, and Naruto's like, well, it's the job of us ninja to dispose of such bastards, right? And then Kagi says, no, ninjas are simply those who die early. That's the extent of it. I don't get what you're saying. I only know this now that I've gained their powers, but that's what comes of taking on Otsutsuki. Whether a ninja or not, you have no choice except to be killed. I really don't want you to die, so I've decided. Oh my god! Like as soon as I read this, I was like, "Bro, we really going down that road again." And he's like, "I'll destroy the Otsutsuki, every last one of them, using their own powers to root them all out." And Naruto's like, "Every last one," and he's like, "Yeah, I came here proper to follow the proper procedure because I shouldn't do this without telling you." And Hinata off the gate says, like, wait, Kawaki, are you saying? And he's like, do you know what my first thought was when I found out Boruto was alive? That I failed to take him down? I even felt a sort of guilt of, over having messed up. It actually surprised me. But this time, I swear. And yo, I gotta say, it takes a lot for Hinata to slap someone across the face. It really, really does. I mean, again, last time she did one of this, as far as the manga goes, was when she slapped Naruto across the face in the Fourth Ninja War. As far as I remember, did she do it? I don't think she did it in the last. I don't think so. But I remember when this panel came out, a lot of people were giving Hinata shit for Kawaki, mentioning all this, and they were like, "Oh, look at what Hinata's doing. It's kind of abusive." And I'm like thinking, "Well, hold on. He again. Let me just state this. This is someone, who took Kawaki in, kind of raised him like her own, right? And obviously, she'd feel a bit not just offensive, but she'd be obviously like super annoyed that like, what are you talking about? Like, we took you in, we did all this, and now you feel like everything that happened was for naught, you know? So, like, if anything, this is a real natural reaction that happens. It's like, when someone's like going down like the dark road and you're just like, no, like that's stupid. Don't do that. And even Naruto's like Hinata. And she even pointed at him, she's like, you're insane. No decent human being would think that way. So you know what? Look, honestly, I give props for Hinata for saying that, for actually stepping up, stepping up to the plate on that. That's actually good. Like she says, no decent human being would think that way. And Kawaki says, it sure might seem like that to you. But he's like, then again, you're right. Only a crazy person could kill their brother. Again, sad looks, Hinata, Naruto. But Kawaki's like super chill, super calm. He's like, look, don't be mistaken. I'm not mad. I'm actually rather calm about this. And, I'm thinking straight. And again, this is where Kawaki's first act gets into the play here when it comes to, no, like when it pertains to his his first move. And he says, I've already reached the conclusion that there's no other way. And because you guys won't ever be able to carry it out, I'll do it. Even if it means you'll hate me for death. You'll hate me to death for it. And Naruto's like, I won't let you. So you'll end up killing me before you get to Boruto. Can you still do it? And this is the big thing. So for the longest time, a lot of people, myself included, since the opening pages of chapter 1, everyone's been curious, like, okay, where is like what is Naruto's whereabouts? Like, is he dead? Is he sealed in another dimension? Like, what happened to Naruto? And like that was like the opening tease of the manga for Boruto. Before, like we went back in time to like recap stuff for the movie. And we kind of get the answer right over here. So we find out Naruto's not exactly dead. He's sealed. Like Kaliki sealed him in another dimension. Now, what we didn't know ultimately is that Naruto wasn't the only person that he sealed away with him, because Hinata was also there too. So, in conjunction, they were both sealed together. And going off from that, no, and so going off from that, and this was always going to be a tricky situation, okay? Because if you kill off Naruto, in a way, you kind of lose off the fans, right? Like you lose off like that big connection, that big attachment a lot of people had with the series. You know. Then we cut over to the other half of the spectrum, which is like, well, if Naruto's not dead, then you're pretty much just baiting the audience. So, like, in my opinion, this whole scenario was always going to be very tricky. Of okay, is he dead or is he not dead? And I think because of the fact that, like, it took us like 6 years, because or no, 7 years, because the manga, if I remember correctly, started in what 2016. 16, I think it's 16, right? 16 was when the manga started. So if we're looking at it like that, it's like, okay, which road do you go? Now, in this instance, with Naruto being sealed away, and I mean, look, people can view this as a negative view, but it's almost like Naruto now is kind of like the plot device for the time skip. That's the one thing I think now we can all like pretty much agree on, is that okay, freeing Naruto is the end game goal of the time skip, assumingly, right? But no, like Kagis is like, so you just wait until then, Lord Seventh. But he says like, like, hey, after I deal with Boruto, like, you're welcome to kill me. And again, like Kaliki and his ideology, like it really depends on you as the reader. Like it's like, okay, you can kind of understand where he's coming from, like trying to keep Naruto safe, but it also kind of falls into that aspect of him being like super flawed and like really, bro, like that's the direction we want to go into, of him saying like, I have to protect you, but if I have to seal you away, that's the only way I can do so. And once I kill Boruto, you're welcome to kill me. So Kalki in a way is kind of like just saying like, look, I've accepted my fate. Like if I have to be the bad guy, you know what? Fuck it, I'll be the bad guy. That's essentially what he's doing. But this leads into another point, and I promise I'm not gonna go like super like into the other chapters like I did with this one. But we do also get one thing, and that is simply how Boruto gets a scar. Now, Boruto getting a scar was always a topic of discussion in the community for like the longest time. Ever since we saw, again, going back to the opening pages of the first chapter, Boruto has a scar, and a lot of people were like, "Yo, does he get that from a battle? Like, what's the result of Boruto getting that scar?" And here's the thing: I actually have not gone back and reread Boruto like from chapter 1 to chapter 80 myself to like see like if it flows well, but when you look at it and think about like how long it took us to get here, the initial impression I did have is like, really? Like that's how we get the scar for Boruto? Not necessarily that Kawaki slashes it. I think the concept of Kawaki being the one that gives him the scar, I actually think is not that bad of an idea. I think in the concept it works. The execution though, I feel like is where I think it faltered, like heavily faltered in my opinion. And what I mean by that is Sarda. Okay, because now when it comes to Sarda as a character, let me be perfectly frank with you guys. I actually like Sarda's character. Like, if we go all the way back from Naruto Gaiden, like she's the one character from the new gen, like early on that I was kind of like, all right, I'm actually a little curious about her character. And you had the whole stuff with Gaiden and like her trying to figure out like what she kind of her figuring out like what her calling wants to be because she opens up Gaiden with the meaning of like, okay, what does it mean to be a ninja? And then she kind of figures that out like towards the end of Gaiden. Now, how you feel about the who's the mother subplot? Ugh, it's a it's a whole nother topic altogether. But you get that right there with Sarada, and I'll dive a little bit more into this when I do the overall manga podcast, the overall manga stream for live stream discussion on the Naruto, or not Naruto, but the Boruto manga for part one as a whole. But this does kind of fall into one of the tropes of like, really, like this is how we're treating Sarada, like the daughter of Sasuke Uchiha, really? Like, I mean, I guess in a way you can argue it's kind of like the spur of the moment, kind of like say when Sasuke like stepped in to take the blow for Naruto. But there's a huge difference between that scene and this scene because this one, like Sarada, like deliberately, and I mean deliberately, put herself in danger, and Boruto had to like instead of like being there to like try to protect Boruto, she steps in and like tries to like peace tug it out. Like, like it reminds me of Naruto in a sense, where she's like, "Look, I know a lot of shit's happened. Let's try to like work it out." You know, like really think about the scenario that's unfolding here. Like even Sumire kind of pointed out too. Like, look, I know we just found out something incredibly huge about Kawaki killing Bordo, but really, and again, this is from Sumire. She's the one that tells Sarada, "Hey, keep yourself in check about this. Like, really, like, think before causing something." And I mean, if you really want to consider it, Sarada is kind of the reason why Boruto has a scar across his eye. That's in context of the story now. That's canon. Sarada is the reason why Boruto has a scar because if Sarada did not put herself in danger, that scar for Boruto would not be there. So it's one of those things. If I'm being like perfectly honest here, but the fight itself between Boruto and Kawaki, I actually do think it's pretty cool, and it does mirror again the be. I've been reiterating this for a while now, but it does mirror the beginning of the manga too, where they're fighting like near the Hokage faces. So I think it's kind of cool that their fight occurs right over here with, like above Naruto's statue. Near which we never get any context about, like, the city behind the Hokage faces. Like that never gets brought up into the occasion. Which I guess is one thing I am kind of hoping for that we get with the time skip. Like, okay, what's that whole scenario like? You know? But no, like you get this, and again, I'm skipping through because I don't want to like delve too much into it. But fight ensues. It goes down, and I personally, like I said before, I think the fight between Boruto and Kawaki, in my opinion, is good for the most part. It's good. It's not amazing. It's not like, oh, it was like so top tier. Now, like if I'm comparing this fight, realistically speaking, compare this fight between Naruto versus Sasuke in the Battle at the End. Still, okay, the first Naruto and Sasuke fight at the Battle at the End, because the second fight, ooh, oh, left to be desired for that one too. But the very first fight between Naruto and Sasuke in the Valley of the End versus this Valley of the End at the end of part one still holds up. And I think no one can deny that. I think nobody can deny that. Okay, that this fight supersedes the what's the word, the classic fight that is Naruto versus Sasuke in part one. I think no one can deny that. But here's the interesting thing that I didn't notice is that this is volume 20, right? If you look at volume 20 for the manga for Naruto and Sasuke kind of have their little skirmish, you know, at the hospital rooftop scene. So I think it's kind of interesting that they both kind of parallel in that aspect. Like volume 20, Naruto and Sasuke have their skirmish at the hospital rooftop. And then over here for Boruto, volume 20, Kawaki and Boruto have their confrontation. It's actually, yeah, it's again, if I want to pull a George Lucas quote, it's like poetry and rhymes. It's it's one of those things. And yeah, there are no comparisons. Foul of the End a, is better by a mile. I definitely agree with you on that. Definitely. And yeah, and like I said, this is the thing here. Sarda walks in. She's what's got into you, and he even tells her, like, "Hey, look, don't butt in." And again, you can kind of say this is where Sakura's like instincts kind of kick in, because kind of similar to Sakura, Sarda steps in, and like I said, Naruto, Boruto gets the scar essentially. Now the scar itself on Boruto, like I remember reading it, and I was like, "Whoa, oh shit!" I'm like, "Okay, we got the scar," because the longest time it's like, "All right, when are we gonna get the scar?" Now we get it, and though okay, how we get the scar and how it's portrayed in the manga, that's two different conversations. I'll say. So how we get the scar again, when I go back and reread Boruto from the beginning and see how it flows now from 1 to chapter 80, I'll that's a question I'll answer there. But I'll say, like, as a buildup for, like, the last 7 years, it's like it's a little underwhelming, I will say. Just a little because, like I said, it's essentially Sarda. Like, Sarda's the big reason as to why Boruto has a scar, essentially, through her one decision. And this is where we get into another thing too. So they have Boruto like apprehended, and even Sasuke too, like holds the sword up to Kag. He's like, "Hey, look, it's over. Like, I'd rather not kill you, but like, look, if you resist, that is essentially what's gonna happen." And who decides to step in and ruin the parade is good old Momoshiki. Oh, Momoshiki steps in. Momoshiki steps in, removes the shadow possession jutsu that Shikamaru had to bind Kawaki down, and he pretty much tells Kawaki, "Get away. Look, like if you want to live to fight another day, like hurry up and get lost, or the opportunity is essentially gonna be wasted." So, kind of interested that Momoshiki's like, "Yeah, no, go. Like you're off the hook." Like, okay, now ultimately we understand why that's the case because he says right over here, "Well, boy, I think you know this is just the beginning. You'll go on to lose everything in very short order, and it can no longer be stopped. The end has already begun." Essentially, the prophecy that Momoshiki let out for Boruto, like those blue eyes will take everything away from you, was always kind of something I was a little keen on. I'm like, okay, so there's this prophecy for Boruto, and eventually it's okay. Though the blue eyes that Boruto possesses, that's what's ultimately gonna cause his downfall. It's gonna lead him to lose everything. It kind of goes into that person again. You can kind of say it's the reverse from Naruto, where Naruto was about the underdog gaining respect and trust from like everyone around him. And like he becomes like that iconic heroic figure, you know, in history. Whereas with Boruto, like I said, it's the opposite. It's like people know him. He's the son of the Hokage. You get like these little things here and there. But unlike Naruto, where it was like a tale of rags to riches, here it's a matter of like you're at the very top, and somewhere along the lines, like you hit a decline. You hit like a tremendous low point in life, and that's essentially. I think that's a good way to put it. No, a good way to point out this whole thing between Naruto and Boruto in terms of like their story because they are different. One starts off from nothing, and one starts off with something, and where they end up again is like on opposite spectrums. And so let's go ahead and address the elephant in the room, which is going to be essentially how the prophecies were fulfilled. So this whole ordeal with Boruto losing everything actually comes in the form of Ada because Kaliki, goes over to Ada and he says, "Look, like, why was it him? Like, actually, let me get the exact line of dialogue here. I'm gonna say it verbatim right over here. So this is when Kaliki is like still on the run. He's still on the run. He's hiding, and then Ada runs over to him and she says like, "It's okay, Kaliki. It's me." And he's like, "Ada, relax. I'm on your side. On my side? When you're coming near me, despite being unable to erase your chakra signature, you're pretty much broadcasting my location to them." And she says, like, "Even you aren't capable of escaping under these circumstances. But you'll be fine if I'm with you. Because I won't let anyone touch you." Obviously showcasing that, she she likes the dude, essentially. I mean, we've established that off the gate. He's like, "Look, I don't give a crap about me. I don't matter at all. So forget about me. And focus on protecting Lord Seven. Listen to me. If we don't take that bastard Momoshiki out now, Lord Seventh and this village he cherished and protected will both eventually be destroyed." That's the thing. He's never addressing Boruto in this. He's always addressing Momoshiki. And, circumstances suck, but Boruto is Momoshiki's vessel. So it's not that Kaliki wants to instinctively kill Boruto for no reason. He's like, "Look, you're the vessel. I do care about you, but at the end of the day, you are a vessel. If push comes to shove, I have to do this." That's essentially what he's doing, you know? and this village he's cherished and protected will both eventually be destroyed. I can't let things, stay like this. Because once he breaks free, it'll be too late. Irreversible and beyond repair. But unfortunately, this is the key thing. He says he's the son of Lord Seventh. Why in Konoha? I said why in Konoha? Who in Konoha could kill him? The Hokage's son. An act that would turn all your friends into foes. Who'd ever agree to take on such a task? It's not about karma for me anymore. At this point, you're more important to me to leave you be, right? He's obviously remembering Boruto's words, but then he remembers, okay, there's not Kage, but there's Momoshiki. Bro. Which I'm gonna be a little curious how the anime does get to that point when we get there eventually, because we know it will come back. But you see this, he's just saying like, why did it have to be him? And she's like, Colic, you're like, why couldn't it have been a complete nobody? Who wasn't the Hokage's son or my brother? A stranger who would never mourn, who no one would mourn if they died. An outsider just like me. And Aid is trying to reason with them, but he just says, look, you got this all-seeing Senrigan. Use it to look at me. See me for the powerless piece of garbage that I am. And this is where we kind of get into the big controversial debate when it comes to Boruto losing everything. Because using the power of the Senrigan, in a way, you can kind of say the roles have reversed. Because of this method, everything has now shifted. The villagers, like the entire world, pretty much believes. Well, I can't really say if it's the whole world because we don't know that just yet. But as far as the people in Konoha goes, outside of Sarada and Sumire, and that's the one thing we all need to keep in mind here. Besides Sarada and Sumire, everybody else, okay, just went from we're going after Kawaki to now we're going after Boruto. Because you've got the scene right over here. Damon's like big sis. Even like Sumire is like, wait, well, what is this? You get the okay. Well, actually, no. So I guess it is the planet too, because like we're also seeing just a quick panel of space. So I guess from this we can now kind of say that yes, in actuality, the whole world pretty much has an idea that okay, Boruto's on the run in that sense. So you get this, and like again, Boruto's like, wait, what was that flash of that? And this fool Momoshiki, this fool Momoshiki looks over here and he's just like, which Boruto's like, aren't you looking a little chippy? Like, well, what the hell's going on? And he says, how does it feel to lose everything? You're feeling awfully chipper. Well, why don't you tell me what's about to go down? And then he just simply says, like, like, look behind you. Which Sarada looks so. You see Sarada, he turns around, he's like, Mitsuki found him over here. And do you remember the chapter when Boruto gets like that future sight and Mitsuki is like, you've truly angered me? We all kind of assumed that was specifically from like that something happened to Boruto and Mitsuki saying that to Kawaki. That's not the case. In actuality, he's saying that to Boruto again because of Ada's ability with the Senrigan. Again, what everything that Kawaki desired, he got now because of Ada's ability. And It's like this. Case in point, everyone is like under a hypnosis that Kaliki is regarded as, Naruto's son. And Boruto is the adopted kid that murdered and killed Naruto. And that's why, Boruto's on the run. It's simply because of this. And again, only two people know about this. Only, well, okay, two people outside of Kaliki and Ada. Only two people know what's the actual truth. Again, Sarada and Sumiri. They're the only two that know about this. But now, like, you see this. Mizi tries to attack. Obviously, they try to get away. But again, Momoshiki just says this. Like, he went through Ada and invoked omni no omnipotence. There we go. That's the word. I'm like, it's not omnipotent. It's omnipotence to cause you and him to switch positions. Again, it goes back to a quote Naruto told Sasuke when it comes to the five Kage Summon. And this was actually like one of the only real highlights I did like about the five Kage Summon. Is Naruto tells Sasuke, like, hey, you know, our roles easily could have been reversed. You know? Now, this, in a sense, kind of comes to pass. Because now the roles have truly reversed. Kalaki, again, is now regarded as the son of the hero. Boruto is the outcast that was brought into the village. And essentially, he's on the run. They're just saying, like, yo, we coming after you. That's essentially what's going on. Let's see, either way, he is now Uzumaki Kalaki, the Hokage's son, who was born and raised in this village, and you are a lonely outsider who bit the hand that fed him and is being hunted down by Konoha. Just plain Boruto, not Uzumaki, just plain Boruto. Do you get it now? And that's the end of the chapter. So going into chapter 80, and again, I don't want to dive so heavily into the chapter, but again, chapter 80, we find out two things. A, Sarada is unaffected. B, Sumiri is unaffected. And we also kind of come to find that about Boruto, not Boruto, but Naruto and Hinata's like situation. So they're trapped in another dimension, but they're not going to be dead. Like they're kind of like in what's the perfect way I can put this? Like, do you guys remember what happened to Aang in Avatar when he was like frozen in a block of ice, and then like 100 years passed by, and then when Katara like broke the iceberg free, like he awakened, and he's like still like essentially it's like the day never ended. He's still like 12 years old. So Naruto and Hinata, in a sense, are not going to age. They're just permanently going to stay there until, and Kalagi says, until Boruto is killed. Those two are staying in there. So they're not going to age a day at all. So it is going to be a little interesting, I will admit, that whenever Naruto and Hinata do get free, and we know that's going to happen. We know 100% that those two are going to be free, at the very least, by the end of the story. I mean, everyone knows that's going to happen. Why is this Ada's motivation? I mean, I guess in a way you can kind of say she. This kind of falls under a Naruto trope too, unfortunately, where it's like, well, it's because of the whole idea of like, she loves the guy. So that kind of falls under the whole category with soccer too, with, you know, her whole motivation, why she got strong and everything is because, Sasuke wanting to bring him back and everything. But I don't know. It's a good question. But yeah, he says like I've dealt with Boruto and Code. for all intents and purposes, to Konoha the Hokage is dead, and it's Boruto's fault. So he's like purposefully saying, "Look, now that this is done, Boruto has a target, and they want him dead. I will be able to be free. Better not have messed with my sister." Sword is there too, and Sword is the one that tries to convince her dad that Boruto's actually not the one that did all this. It's actually Kaliki, which, admittedly, yeah, Sasuke does kind of take not necessarily believing Sword 100%, but he does see the plea that she's giving him that Boruto is the innocent one. He didn't do anything. It was all Kaliki. And he decides to like take those words into account. Which does also kind of get into Sarada awakening Mangekyo Sharingan. Now, here's the thing. The Mangekyo Sharingan has always kind of been a weird anomaly when it comes to like the Naruto verse because the way if we go back to early Naruto, the way it was established was that you had to kill your best friend. You have to take the life of your best friend to awaken Mangekyo Sharingan. Then it became you had to kill. Then it kind of I guess it conveniently became you have to kill like okay no you have to kill a loved one in order for what's it called in order for you to unlock the EMS. Like someone essentially like has to die in order for that to happen. So now again, Sarada unlocking Mangekyo Sharingan is not exactly a bad idea. I'm actually not against that. I think how she unlocks it is where, in my opinion, it gets problematic. It's like, okay, so her super high emotions as to why as to her feeling like super worried, super sad about Boruto. Now, okay, the argument could be is that like, well, she found out about Naruto and the situation he's in, and that could potentially be how she unlocks it. Now, I don't know how many people have seen the video of what if Sarada saw Sasuke's past, but that's a fan video, by the way. If you check out that video, in my opinion, like Ada puts Sarada like under not a Genjutsu per se, but she shows like Sarada like memories of the past of like what happened, like the day of the Uchiha massacre, what Sasuke did, and like like seeing all that stuff, seeing like the things that that was never mentioned to her. And that being the key reason as to why she unlocks Mangekyo, I think that worked perfectly, like in there. And honestly, that was kind of a missed opportunity because, like, if you had something like that, like, let's say she actually witnessed, like, it's one thing to say if Sarada witnessed, let's say, Boruto getting killed, like, right before her eyes, and that's what causes her to unlock, her Mangekyo. Then it's like, okay, fine, that's fine. And by the way, speaking about the whole Mangekyo deal, that's also gonna happen with Obito too, like during the flashback because Kakashi kills Rin, and they both like simultaneously unlock it because through Obito's vision, he witnesses something bad happening to Rin, and that causes him to unlock his Mangekyo Sharingan. So in proxy, it's like, okay, so something should have happened with Sarada. And like, okay, whether either Chocho dies or, in my opinion, something happened to Sakura. If something happened to Sakura and that's how she unlocked it, or her father, cool. I think again, something super traumatic should have happened to Sarada for that to happen there. Again, it's cool that she unlocked it, but again, it goes back to how Sarada unlocked it. That's like, again, it's a little contrived is one word you can say yes, but it is also kind of like just retconning how we're unlocking abilities. So that is a downside. But moving that aside, you got Momoshiki saying, or not Momoshiki, yeah, Boruto saying, "What a bind, kill or be killed." Though it's not very shinobi like to take down former friends, is it? And he's like literally tempting Boruto, like, "Hey, listen, I'll slaughter them for you." He says, "Shut up and say at us." And you get the manga kill, which Sasuke notices, and she is like begging. She's like, "Look, help Boruto, please." And he tells her like, "Okay, like I'll do it." And he takes Boruto with him, saving him from his once teammates, now enemies, Shikadai, Inojin, and well, were Boruto and Chocho really friends? It's a big question of the day. As far as the manga goes, like, eh. Now the anime is a different case because you have anime canon, other thing too. And Sasuke tells Boruto like, I first met him when I happened to stop by Naruto's house for a visit. That day, he asked me to take him on as a student. He mastered Rasengan in a flash, and he fought Momoshiki with me to save Naruto and won. That's who Kawaki is. He's Naruto's son, according to my mind. So it's not like anything in the world happened per se. It's just that again, they're brainwashed. That's essentially what Ada did. She brainwashed everyone into thinking it. Essentially. And she tells Kawaki, like, hey, head back without me. I need to do some things first. Which ultimately, we get to the end part. We should be safe here for now. The sensor unit won't find us. Though, we won't deceive Ada for long. So we'll rest a bit and then go. Boruto looks over and he says, Uncle Sasuke, you think I'm Konoha's enemy, don't you? Why are you helping me? That headband. It's the one I gave to Kawaki, yet you have it for some reason. And he tells him, like, and that's not all. I know you're there, Otsutsuki Momoshiki. You should be inside Kawaki. Why are you here? Which I like this because Momoshiki just says several things are troubling me. Or that's not Momoshiki, but he's just like, ah, okay, so some things aren't that different then. And Sasuke says, but at the same time, I can actively feel in my mind each thing drastically bothering me less and less. It's quite terrifying. I never gave it a thought until now. How completely undependable my memories might be. I don't know what to believe anymore. And so I decided that even if I doubt myself, I'd believe in my daughter Sarada. And Boris Sasuke, he said, I shall help you because my daughter wishes it. That is worth risking my life, which could imply, yeah, maybe in the future Sasuke's gonna like kind of take the bucket, if you will. I'll kick it, but we'll see. I may be in the process of committing not but a monumental mistake. So prove me wrong and validate Sarada. And again, you see just how ticked off Momoshiki is. He's like, don't let it get to your head, Boruto. This one man's help won't change the fact that you've lost so much. Omnipotence happened. That's the unmistakable reality. It's totally different from momentary deceptions like Genjutsu. As an Ada was simply the trigger. Even if you were to kill her now, it would not reverse the changes that have already taken place. And again, so far, the only ones unaffected by this, at least from my knowledge, is Naruto and Hinata because again, they're sealed away. So in my stance, I would think those two are unaffected because again, they're sealed away. They're probably the only ones outside of Momoshiki, Ada, Kawaki, Sumire, and Sarada that probably are aware of what happened. You're being awfully chatty, Otsutsuki. What's got you so panicked? I'm saying that your role here is finished, so stop being a sore loser, you imp. Hurry up and hand over your body already. And Boruto says, you have the ball. And this is the thing I actually do kind of like about Boruto here is like he says, "You have the balls to talk about being a loser? Give me a break. You're the one who needs to stay backstage. How about you act like the dead piece of crap you are and stay silent for once?" And I mean, look, if we're comparing Boruto here to like say Boruto the movie Boruto, I mean that's growth. I'll say that's legit actual growth I'm noticing here with Boruto. And it's not like he hasn't grown. His growth has been, rather slow, if you will. The damn brat. What crazy mental resolve he has. He's there. He turns around. Ada's there. I know that apologies won't cut it, but still, I'm sorry, Boruto. And Sasuke's like, so this is Ada. Damn it. Do you already know what's happened to you? And Boruto says, Kawaki and I switch places, is what I was told. I only wanted to help Kawaki. That's all. I swear, but it seems I did something unintentionally. I never had imagined it turn out like this. And then Sasuke's kind of just like, I don't know. Something about this just doesn't feel right. Something similar happened before. By the time I realized it, everyone had become my captive. You unconsciously desired that, and your true power, omnipotence, made it reality. And Ada's like, so that's what it is. What a total drag. Boruto says, and this right now, it's reflecting what Kawaki wanted. You're so calm about it. I thought you'd be totally pissed. And Boruto, again, being super serious as he is, she's like, look, oh, I'm totally crushed, all right. But even more so, I can't stop thinking about him. The insecurity and loneliness that I'm feeling right now, he's lived with this all his life since he was a kid. The polar opposite of me. I thought I knew him pretty well, but I guess it was pissing him off that even though I never knew hardship, I was acting like I understood. And Ada says maybe, but I think he does acknowledge you as a true brother. That's how it seems to me. Then Sasuke said Naruto, he also had nothing, just like the current you. He was shunned by many people. Again, kind of like going back to the Boruto the movie thing. Sasuke says, but he became Hokage by proving himself through his own actions. If you are truly his son, as you say, then show us just as he did. Which, again, is kind of crawling under Momoshiki's skin. He's like, damn, Shinobi, yapping on unnecessarily and interfering with the perfect opportunity for me to make him despair and lose his will to live. This is bad. The line of talk is extremely bad. It wasn't supposed to go like this. And Boruto says, you should know that I never for a second consider this as losing everything, Momoshiki. I've got flowing inside me the blood of my dad, Hokage, 7th Hokage, Uzumaki Naruto, my mom's Hyuga blood too, and my grandpa was the 4th Hokage. Grandpa, granddad, same difference. And most important, I am a Konoha Willow Fire ninja. Putting on Sasuke's headband, in fact, the one who drove and at least he acknowledges this too. He's like in fact, the one who drove Kawaki into this corner was none other than me. He's got his own sense of justice. He tried to resolve the Momoshiki situation, even with the risk of dad hating him, resulting in him killing his brother. It's all due to my weakness. I can finally see that. I can't let this end as brother killing brother. I got to get a lot stronger and turn this into a mere quarrel between siblings. That's what my dad would do. See Sasuke, then you have Ada. Boruto, are you sure? You're only 12. What, that again? Who cares? Well, unintended or not, I also played a part in bringing about the situation, so it might not It may not make full amends, but until you return to Konoha, I promise not to look for either of you, no matter what Shikadir or Kawaki says. And Board is like, Ada, because Kawaki's just coming off. This is actually kind of amusing. She says, because Kawaki's just coming off as a coward right now, and it's my fault. It makes me totally sick. That's all. Boruto smirks and says, I'll take it. Please let Sarada know my thanks for sending me Uncle Sasuke. And not to worry, because I'm definitely going to come back. I'm not an errand girl, but fine. And she says, hey, Boruto. So I guess Damon knows too then, actually, since he was unaffected. Get tons stronger while you're at it. Enough that I'll have to fight at full strength for the first time in my life. I don't think I've got enough lives for that. And then Sasuke says, let's get going. For even without the Senrai gone, I doubt Konoha will stop pursuing this. Yeah, thanks so much, Sasuke. And Sasuke again further reiterates, look, it's not because I believe in you, but it's for my daughter. Then you get a panel of Sarada and Sumire looking over. Again, kind of further establishing that they are the only ones that also know the whole situation that's going down. Boruto, Dad. Jigen, Ishiki, and Ada, for your crimes of stealing all that I hold dear. You shall pay with your life, Boruto. And this is like the only other time we get Code in the picture. And again, he's not addressing Kawaki, he's addressing Boruto. Further emphasizing that, yeah, Boruto's the one that switched places with Kawaki. And Kawaki says, wait, no. It's no use hiding anywhere. I'll kill you. So long as you're Otsutsuki, bro. And Boruto says, bring it on. I'll show you till you're begging. Till you're begging me to stop. Bumps his fist against his arm and he says, that I'm Uzumaki Boruto, damn it. And that is essentially where we ended off. And this came out when? April. So we're not getting the next chapter until August, right? So May, June, July. Yeah, so 4 months. We've been on break for 4 months. Now, given all that, with everything we've just tackled, as a whole, for this final section of part 1, I'll say it's good. It's good plus. I'm not gonna say it's like great plus or amazing. Like, okay, if I want to go above, like let's say good plus, maybe I'm gonna contradict here. Good plus maybe great, and I say maybe great, and it all depends on what happens with the time skip. Now that's the thing, because now we're automatically establishing that the time skip, we're entering time skip territory from here on out. But I will say, just for the time being, I will give Boruto the final section of the pre-time skip. Essentially, volume 20 as a whole, good plus. Could it potentially be great? Maybe. It really depends on what happens in part 2. And how part 1 stems as a whole compared, not like compared, but like as a whole. Again, I'll do a whole separate stream discussion regarding that just by itself. So, and I actually noticed a few comments too from Blood Video Company. Let's see here. What, the writing in this show is bad. Yeah, to each their own. So they baited us with Naruto dying. Yeah, I mean, it's like I mentioned earlier, that was always going to be kind of a lose-lose situation, no matter which way you were looking at it. Can I say that Kawaki's plan is so dumb? It's fair. Nothing in Boruto matters because it's always a bait. Everything has been a bait. Kashin Koji, the leader of Kara, the death of Kurama is going to be undone. Well, here's the thing. I think they already established that Kurama was never really dead. It was more of like, okay, it's a farewell between Naruto and Kurama. But I think eventually we were gonna get. I don't know when it will happen per se, but there will come a point in time where Kurama is like brought back into the world at some given point. We just don't know when. Honestly, I miss Sasuke as the main rival. Yeah, I do too. I do too. But that's still one thing I look. There's a lot of things about part two for the original Naruto that I'm not exactly super fond of, but and I do have my like huge criticism towards. But the rivalry Naruto and Sasuke had technically, like in part one, was actually one of my favorites. I will admit. No comparisons between Valley of the End is better by a mile. Yeah. Did the manga literally bench the main female character and made her more of an issue than a help? Which again, I'm that is my one like if we're comparing Sarada to Sakura, like look, Sakura at the very least, I will say this. She didn't really get a lot in part one, and she came out strong in the beginning of part two. Like no one's gonna take that away. Sarada came off like Sakura came off like strong in the beginning of part two. Sarada, on the other hand, it's a different case because we had a story arc on Sarada. We see her wanting to gain her goals, find her calling, wanting to become Okage, and it is kind of sad that that kind of falls on the wayside with Sarada because of Kaliki. It is kind of that's the thing. So if you look at it, and again, I'll dive more into this in the overall discussion of part one, but Sarada and Mitsuki just got like super sidelined once Kaliki stepped in. And I think you could tell that that's apparent. Wow. Underdog who's who's the reincarnation of an alien. Oh god. Uh yeah, I'm remembering that from Naruto too. That whole reincarnation thing. Jinchuriki, the most powerful Biju, and also the son of the greatest shinobi in living memory. Why is this Ada's motivation? Well, like I said, it's probably just because she loves her man. She loves Kaliki and doing so, caused her to react a certain way. But no, that's basically it when it comes to again the end of part one as a whole. Like I said, it's like good plus, but it could potentially end up being great depending on how you know the time skip turns out. Which I guess is a good way we can segue into the discussion of the time skip. And I know, Sarada's time skip design has come out, and it has caused a controversy in a big way. So obviously, it's not the design I think a lot of people were expecting, not even me. In fact, I think a lot of the other like fan arts that we've had of Sarada's post time skip design, I will say is better in that respect. Now, the hair, her cutting her hair is not exactly a bad thing. And I think her hairstyle, in many ways, looking at her design, I think it's supposed to like embody that, that she believes in Boruto, that she's fighting for his cause, that she's, in a sense, like having the balls to like stand up to Kalaki. And plus, like, you kind of have like the choker bracelet around her, which I mean, people have worn that in life, and that's not really a big deal. But like, you have like the Haruno symbol like as like a little neck piece, and then on her ears, like she has like the earrings of the Uchiha clan. So it's kind of showcasing that like she's carrying on like her parents in a way, both Sakura and Sasuke respectively. But there's one thing I do want to point out about the design we've seen for Sarada. We're only seeing one portion of her design. We haven't seen the full design yet. It's not like say with Boruto in the opening pages of Naruto Next Generations. It's still very much just, you know, a quick side shot of Sarada. So when we get her full design on the manga, I think it'll be a much better discussion there. But I will say, like, on first impressions, it's like, eh, it's like that ultimately. Like, I get the symbolism behind the hair and everything. Like, story wise, and like in terms of like what it represents, I understand that. But if we're looking like outside of context, it's like doesn't really mean much. But that's just my quick sense on my initial impressions of Sarda's post time skip design. So when we get the full design, and I'm gonna have to regurgitate on this, I think we'll have a better idea of like what it actually looks like. Because people's opinions could definitely change too once we get the full thing. So we're also kind of walking into not necessarily uncharted territory with the Naruto franchise, but as far as the manga goes, this is kind of a big deal. So Naruto as a manga series, when the time skip happened with Naruto, we never really changed the subtitle. That was always a thing for the anime. Because we had the original Naruto that went up to the fight against Naruto versus Sasuke, including filler hell. Yes, we did have that too. But ultimately, the conclusion was still the same if you look at it. How Naruto Part 1 ends, how Naruto the anime ends, it ends with Naruto leaving the village. That's essentially what happens on both spectrums. But the anime went from calling it just Naruto, and then Part 2, the time skip, was called Shippuden. Here, you have Boruto Naruto Next Generations. The first 20 volumes, essentially. That's Naruto Next Generations. Now we get the time skip for the manga, okay? And we have a different subheading altogether. It's not just called Boruto Naruto Next Generations Chapter 81. It's not that at all. Instead, the subheading is called Boruto Two Blue Vortexes. And a lot of people have thrown in discussions as to what this could mean. What could the title mean? Two Blue Vortexes. Does it have anything to do with Boruto? I think that's obvious. Yeah, it has a lot to do with Boruto for sure. But there's one character we haven't like touched on yet, at least from what I've noticed, and that is Himawari. Because again, the last time we saw Himawari was when Boruto ran into her, and Damon was like about to like talk about some stuff. That was the last time we saw brother and sister have their interactions. So keeping that in mind, I do think that the time skip, like Himawari, is going to have a big important role. I do have my belief on that. Much like how Sarada will have her role of importance too. That's my hope. My hope is Sarada has a big role in the time skip after seeing just how she fell off the wayside essentially for the story. But I do think it's going to be connected to that, and I think it will. It could also delve into the prophecy again with Momoshika, like, oh, like, those blue eyes will take everything away from you. I mean, the fact that it's called Two Blue Vortexes. I mean, again, Boruto's the first thing that comes to mind when it comes to blue eyes. Let's not forget Himawari has blue eyes too, so it could be interesting actually that it's a story about brother and sister. First story was all about just Boruto. The fact that this one's just called Two Blue Vortexes, you have both Boruto in the spotlight and Himawari in the spotlight. And who knows? Maybe the first arc of the time skip, and again, I could just be totally guessing here. Maybe the first arc of the time skip could be about Himamar yes, Himawari reuniting with Boruto, thinking he's the enemy. And she comes to realize, like, no, this is my actual brother. The one I've been thinking is my brother. It's not my brother. He's the one that caused this whole thing. That could be the first arc. It very much could be. But again, there's a lot of ways you can go about the meaning behind what the two blue vortex could mean. I personally think it's gonna revolve around Boruto and Himawari in some way, shape, or form. So what could happen in part two as a whole? Well, like I said, I think we will tackle an arc on Himawari confronting Boruto, and then somehow, some way, she's gonna get you know brought over to her side, his side, if you will, and stand up against Kalki, much like how Sard is doing right now, based on her design and for the time skip. Which kind of makes me curious about like how she's gonna turn out with her design. I think what could happen with Himawari, I'm not gonna say it's gonna be like a complete uh identical approach to how Hinata was, say, going from, you know, part one to part two. I don't think she's gonna have the complete Hinata design that Hinata had in Shippuden. I don't think so. Maybe something similar. Like, I don't think her hair will be like as long as Hinata's was, but it could be similar to it. Like, I definitely see Himawari having long hair. I do see that. How long her hair is, maybe like shoulder length. I'll say that. If we want to, like, make it a little bit more different and a little more distinct, I could see Himawari like having her hair like, like just down to her neck. I feel so it's like long, but it's not like you know the same length as Hinata's hair, in my opinion. Now, Sumire is going to be another interesting one that comes to mind too, because again, she's another one of those characters that got unaffected by the Senrai gun. And as far as her design goes for the post time skip, I could see her like maintaining the long hair because going off from the anime, Sumire, she kept the long hair because it was like a momentum to her mother. So I still see that like playing a part with her design in two blue vortexes. Now, how I think she could appear in the time skip itself. I mean, okay, would we see like kick ass like hit girl like ninja mode design for Sumire? I don't. Well, here's the thing, because we know she also has like the brains approach. She's kind of like the scientist, right? So maybe it could be like a mix. Like maybe she kind of like has the badass like ninja girl mode, but when she's in the office like taking care of like scientific stuff, she has the coat on. So it could be something like that too. Who knows? Mitsuki, I don't know. I do think see Mitsuki. I think kind of falls into the same category too, in that sense. I mean, you already have something established right off from the ending of part two, of the ending of you know part one, where he sees Boruto, he's going to kill him because again, memories are switched. So I do. A lot of it is going to come down to when these confrontations happen. How long is it going to be before they start realizing that, oh shit, like none of this is happening? And furthermore, let's say this: Sasuke is with Boruto right now. So Sasuke, in this situation, you could say Sasuke is playing the Jiraiya in that situation. So will Sasuke die in the story? Ah, shoot, that depends. How much of your viewership is going to drop if Sasuke's gone? That's the question of the day. How much of the viewership is going to go down if you kill off Sasuke? I think is the question. Because Sasuke, as a character, in terms of popularity, like he's high up there. He's like high up there, much like with Naruto too. Um, Soccer's interesting. I will say that because there's been a long time theory that Sakura will be the one. that takes up the mantle of Hokage. Much like how when the third Hokage died, Hiruzen, it was meant for, say, Jiraiya. Jiraiya turned it down, so they went to go get Tsunade. And in a sense like that, it's kind of fitting too, because again, you had Kakashi, who is the sensei to Naruto. You had Minato, who was Kakashi's sensei. Um, and kind of going from that, like the cycle continues. It goes on to this whole like cycle phase where the senseis, the mentors, pass it on to the student, and then the student takes up the role. So, I mean, look at it this way: Tsunade was Hokage, right? So, the possibility of Sakura being Hokage, I don't think it's like too much of a stretch. I think that's a possibility. Or the other approach could be this brings Kakashi back into the fold too. That's a possibility also. But I do think it's interesting. I will say that it's interesting to see. Well, number one, the fact that the time skip is like now finally upon us because we've been waiting for what's damn near 7 years at this point, and like this is the ultimate test now. Everything that the opening pages of chapter one teased, it was all just a road. It was just a map, if you will, to getting us to the spot. Now, the fact of the matter is, will the time skip actually, prevail? That's something we're gonna have to find out here in what, like a month, I think, because I think the next chapter doesn't drop until yeah, like, I think the new chapter isn't coming out until August, right? August 20th or something. So yeah, literally like a month from now. And like I said, this is not gonna be the last stream I do for Boruto. I do plan on doing a couple other streams. I'm gonna do a overall discussion for Boruto Naruto Next Generations, like as a whole for the manga. So from like say volume 1 to volume 20, we'll do a whole stream discussion on that. Who knows? I might actually rope in a couple people too. I might. It all depends if they're actually up for it. And then a second stream I will do will be centered primarily on the anime. And yeah, no, I think that's pretty much it when it comes to this live stream discussion on board of chapters 77 through 80. Again, overall, like I said, good plus. It was good plus content. Decent way to end off, part one. Definitely had some issues for sure, but still serviceable enough to just get us to the spot, I would say. And we just gotta wait and see with what happens with what is gonna be presented to us. And I'll say this: Boruto, as a character, I think a lot of people's perception on Boruto, I will say, will change with the time skip. I have my 100% faith in that. That yeah, how people see Boruto in from the very beginning of Naruto Next Generations versus say Two Blue Vortex, it's gonna be like, whoa, that's a radical change. Like it could be that too, but aside from that, you guys, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys' thoughts were on this. How do you guys feel about the end of part one? What do you guys think is going to happen in part two with certain characters? How do you feel about Sarada's time skip design? And aside from that, guys, that's pretty much it. I'm Lucky Cheese 7. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more Boruto content in the future, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.